Camera rolling, and 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to Leadership Sketches, our weekly reality check on creative leadership. Every week, in 10 minutes or less, I want to share ideas and best practices on creativity, leadership, and everything in between. This is our sketch number 6. We are going to talk about self-awareness. We are going to talk about proactivity. And we are going to talk about an interesting framework that we can use to stimulate these 2 points. So this is an interesting quote that I stole from an old movie starring Robert De Niro that, if I remember correctly, was called Running. And this famous quote said, as we face a challenge, we basically always have 3 options. We can either be 1, part of the problem, or we can be 2, part of the solution, or 3, we can just be part of the landscape. I feel this simple framework is actually more powerful than we think because it helps us to become a little bit more self-aware of our position. One of the hard things that we face as we take on a position of leadership or management is the ability of being self-aware. So understanding and also fighting, I would say, the classical premise that if we are in a management or leadership position, we should be the one that always have the solution. So we should always be part of the solution. But I want to argue that not necessarily this is always the case. This small framework helps us to try to rationalize and write some core statement that might help us to become a little bit more self-aware and also how to become a little bit more proactive. So the first question we should ask ourselves is, what does it mean that we are part of the problem, right? So we could write 3 to 5 statements and say, how am I being part of the problem? Or how whatever I'm doing, how I'm acting could be part of the problem of this challenge that we are trying to face. And the second part, the second question that we would like to ask ourselves is, am I being part of the solution? Or even here, always our 3 to 5 statements, can I be part of the solution? Sometimes we cannot be part of the solution, or we are not capable or able to be part of the solution. And we could write these 3 to 5 statements saying, this is how I could become part of the solution, or this is how I can be part of the solution for this challenge. And the third aspect, I call it as being a cactus. So what does it mean being a cactus? Being a cactus means that we are just part of the landscape and we try to avoid the issue, and we are there with our spikes on, and we try to avoid the situation, or we are trying to ignore sometimes the situation. So even here we could write 3 to 5 statements on how am I being just part of the landscape? What are the things that I am avoiding? What are the things that I don't want to do? This comes particularly handy because often we also see, if you ever jumped into a room and you felt that you were surrounded by what I call cactus, meaning that everybody is on the defensive. So everybody is there just watching and waiting with their spikes out. And this is where we don't want to be, right? We don't want to be part of the landscape. This is the worst situation that we could be in. So this is a very simple framework, and it could help us to, 1, be a little bit more proactive, and also help us to gain a little bit more of self-awareness, asking ourselves, am I being part of the problem? Am I being part of the solution? Or am I being just a cactus? So I hope you enjoyed this brief sketch. And as always, I'm Gianluca Cinquepalmi. If you enjoyed this sketch, comment, subscribe. Tell us, how have you faced this situation of trying not to be part of the landscape? As usual, until next sketch, don't forget to inspire, challenge, and disrupt.